Today is 5th of August 2025. Yesterday, I talked about the fourth causative factor in order to develop and sharpen the controlling faculties. Under that topic, I talked the 7 suitabilities that yogis need to make sure to unfold the insight or to develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So today I'm going to talk about the fifth one, the fifth causative factor to develop, to sharpen the controlling faculties. And this fifth one is very simple, very practical. It says that to take the sign of samadhi. Here, sign of samadhi means the circumstance or the condition or the cause of samadhi. There are circumstances or the condition in which like a good practice occur, in which good practice occur. So that condition, that circumstance should be remembered by the yogis in order to apply next time. So that is what taking the sign of samadhi means. Taking means here remembering. Taking in the mind or remembering the condition in which here you had good practice, good mindfulness, good concentration. That condition, that circumstance need to be remembered in order to apply in future, because as all of us know, meditation practice is ups and downs of here. Sometimes we feel we are up in the cloud in the samadhi land, but at next time then we feel disappointed, assaulted by kilesas. We feel nothing is going right. Mindfulness is absolutely not there. So in that condition, we have to apply the previous one, the previous condition, the previous circumstance in which the good practice had occurred. So to apply, yogis have to remember. And not just when we talk about the condition, circumstance, it's about the aiming factor. How did you aim at object? How did you directed the mind, directed towards the object? How did you apply the energy? And it is also about the mental situation or condition. What was the situation of the mind, or let's say attitude of the mind? So these conditions, these circumstances should be taken or should be remembered by meditators in order to apply next time. So this is very simple one. So taking the sign of samadhi concentration. So here I will talk about the concentration. I have already mentioned the day before yesterday how samadhi develops, how the momentum of mindfulness permits the concentration to arise. When mindfulness gets momentum, then concentration arises because the mindfulness which is arising continuously, it frees the mind from defilements, it keeps the mind pure, clean, therefore the mind is free from defilements, freedom is there. When mind is free from defilements, seclusion is there. Mind is secluded, and that seclusion generates joy, mental bliss, or mental happiness, or mental comfort, we can say. And that mental comfort and mental bliss is the nearest cause to develop the concentration. That's why we say the momentum of mindfulness permits the concentration to arise. So samadhi develops, samadhi arises. This is the fourth mental, this is the fourth controlling faculty. Samadhi concentration has the characteristics of non-dispersal, non-dissipation, or non-scatteredness. Means when concentration is present, or when concentration arises, mind does not disperse, mind does not dissipate, mind does not scatters. It firmly lands on the meditative object. It sticks on the meditative object. It sinks into the meditative object. That is the nature or characteristics of concentration samadhi. And when concentration is present, it unifies or it gathers the mental factors which are arising together. The concomitant mental factors. Concentration unifies, it gathers, it collects into the same object. It itself, concentration itself penetrates into the meditative object, and again it unifies and make the other mental factors to penetrate into the meditative object. So it unifies, it gathers mind and mental factors which are arising together. Like water unifies the cement or the flour. Similarly, concentration unifies the mind and the mental factors. This is the function, duty of the concentration. and it manifests as a calmness or peacefulness because it dispels the obsessive kilesas momentarily. It suppresses the obsessive kilesas momentarily. Kilesas defilements are not present. Kilesas defilements are dispelled. So mind is cool and calm, still at that moment. And yogis experience by themselves. So when you feel cool, calm, or stillness of the mind and mentality, it is because of the concentration. So this is the manifestation of concentration samadhi. So I just mentioned samadhi dispels the obsessive defilements. There are three kinds of defilements. The transgressive defilement, obsessive defilement, and latent defilement. And before talking these three types of defilement, we have to know what is defilement or what are the defilements. Defilements are those which defile, which pollute our mind. This is the first definition of defilements. Second is which burn off, which heat up the mind. Our mind become heated. Our mind becomes burned due to defilements. And defilements are those which torment or torture. We feel tormented, tortured when defilements are present. They make our mind exhausted, tired. That is the another definition of defilements. And defilements are those that conceal the truth, that conceal the truth, reality. We can't see reality, we can't see the true natures when defilements are present. So in this way, there are many definitions of defilements. Defilements are those that makes our mind, that weakens our mind, suffocates our mind, frustrate our mind, irritate our mind, agitate our mind, make our mind mad, violent, cruel. The perpetrator is defilements. The reason, the cause, or the perpetrator of all these situations are defilements. So they are three in kinds. Yes, there are generally we talk 10 defilements. You may know that greed, lobha we call lobha, greed. Then the second is dosa, anger. And the third is moha, illusion. Fourth is mana, conceit of proud. The fifth is ditti, wrong view. Sixth, vicikiccha, doubt. Seven is tina, sloth. Sloth itself is a defilement. Then uddacha, restlessness. Ninth is lack of moral shame or hiri, and the last one is anotappa, lack of moral fear. So there are 10 kinds of kilesa. So when we divide them into gross defilements, medium defilements, and subtle defilements, they become 3 in kinds, and they are known as Vitikama kilesa, transgressive kilesas, which manifest from body and speech. When we commit misconducts physically and verbally, at that time transgressive kilesas are present, gross or cruel type of, rude type of defilements, which manifest from body and speech. The second is medium type of defilements that do not manifest by body and speech. Like we may not be killing, we may not be taking what is not given, we may not be lying, slandering, abusing, engaging in idle speech, but still mentally we might be thinking, we might be intending to kill, to take other belongings which are not given, wanting to commit sexual misconduct, and so on. So boiling in the mind, those kind of defilements are known as obsessive kilesas or defilements. Obsessive defilements. Then the third one is latent defilements, anusaya. Anusaya kilesa. Anusaya means embedded, latent or embedded, slipping type of kilesa, underlying defilements. They are deep rooted, underlying, do not always show on the surface but remain hidden, but influencing our views, reaction, and behaviors unconsciously. Even when you are not angry, greedy, on surface, these defilements are still present beneath the mind, waiting for the right condition to arise. Like seeds waiting for the rain or sunlight to sprout. So these are latent type of defilements, and examples to understand the 3 type of defilements. The first one is the fire latent in the lump of sulfur at the tip of the matchstick. The fire latent or underlying in the lump of the sulfur at the tip of the matchstick is like latent defilements. We can't see the fire, but it needs the favorable condition. It needs a good condition, right condition to arise. When we strike against the matchbox, then fire starts. So the fire at the tip of the matchstick, when we strike against the matchbox, is like obsessive defilements. And the fire which burns and sprays and burn these and that objects is like transgressive defilements. So in this way, there are three. Again, another example is a man who is sleeping is like latent type of defilement. The man who has woke up is like obsessive kilesa defilement. The man who is doing these and that actions is like transgressive defilement. So in this way, the defilements are categorized based on the gross, medium, and subtle, and three kinds. And these defilements can be dispelled by three trainings. To dispel, to suppress the false transgressive defilements, we have to practice morality training. Morality restrains our physical and verbal actions. Bodily, it restrains to not to kill, not to take what is not given, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to take intoxicants, and verbally, to not to lie, to slander, to use abusive speech, and to not to engage in idle or meaningless talk. When we observe sila precepts, we avoid physical and verbal misconducts. And these precepts are not a set of commandments handed down by the Buddha. These are not the sets of commandments handed down by Buddha. These are, in fact, the activities that derives from the sense of humanity. Suppose, for example, we have a spurt of anger, want to harm another beings. When we put ourselves into the another being's shoes and honestly contemplate the action that we are planning to do, we will immediately say, no, I wouldn't want that done to me. That is not fair, unjust. So if we have such kind of like a view, consider some, with some action, then that is definitely unwholesome action. So it derives from the sense of humanity, or it derives from a sense of oneness to other beings. That's why morality is not a set of commandments handed down by the Buddha. That means you don't need to be Buddhist to practice the 5 precepts. If you have genuine human mind, then that humanity, a sense of humanity, drives you to observe these 5 precepts. And that 5 precepts, minimum 5 precepts, of course, here we practice 8 precepts, so that dispels or suppresses the transgressive defilements. And to dispel or suppress the obsessive defilements, we need concentration. Morality cannot touch, cannot do anything, cannot dispel the obsessive defilements, because morality is just to restrain physical and verbal misconducts. It can't restrain mind, it can't suppress the mind. So we need concentration to dispel second type of defilements. And that is what I just mentioned. Concentration dispels obsessive defilements. And to dispel the latent type of defilements, we have to develop insight. Not with this space type defilements. Ten type of defilements are dispelled by the knowledge center. Right now we are talking how concentration dispels the obsessive defilements. As we develop concentration, like when we observe rising as rising, if concentration is there, your mind is not dispersing, not dissipating, not scattering. It is well collected. Mind is well collected into rising and falling. And at that moment, obsessive kilesas or defilements are not present because of the concentration. And this concentration is known as Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration. It arises for a moment. It arises for a moment. And when we note again falling as falling, if concentration is again present, again mind is well penetrated, well unified, no dispersing, and defilements are eliminated, dispelled, and mind is also calm at that time. because of presence of concentration. In this way, if moment by moment, in this way, if moment by moment we dispel the defilements, then we become capable to put the defilements at bay. However, this concentration develops for a moment, arises for a moment, still it can put the defilements at bay, at a remote distance. And how it is possible, as I just mentioned, if there is concentration, when you note rising as rising, for a moment you dispel or you put away the defilements. If you note falling and again, if you develop concentration, then for 2 seconds, it becomes for 2 seconds. Then again, next rising, next falling. If you develop concentration continuously, then it becomes 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. So the time period lingers. You become capable to dispel the kilesas, or when you become able to develop the concentration for the long period of time, then you also become able to put the defilements farther and the farther. That is why it is said that longer concentration dispels the defilements, the farther away the defilements remain. If you just develop for a moment, then it is just for a moment, and kilesas do not remain at a bay because you are just developing for a moment. After that, let's say no mindfulness, no concentration. So defilements do not remain at a bay. They are close. They are nearby. They keep loitering. Whenever you miss the object, they may arise. They take room in the mind stream. That is why I am repeatedly telling the yogis, unbroken continuity is needed, unbroken continuity is needed. Respectful practice is needed each and every moment. If you practice respectfully each and every moment, and unbroken continuity is there, then each and every moment you dispel the kilesas, you suppress the defilements, and then slowly you become able to put the defilements at a bay, at a remote place. And again, the longer concentration is sustained, the deeper the suppression of the kilesas becomes. Kilesa becomes. The longer you dispel the longer the concentration you sustain, so the deeper suppression of kilesa. And in this way, when you put the defilements at a bay, then they, at the same time, they become inactive. they become inactive. Inactive means you are not you are not giving them to function. At home, they are always functioning. They are always active in your mind. But here, by development of mindfulness, by development of concentration, you are not giving chances to activate, to function the defilements. By dispelling, by not giving rooms in the mind stream. Because they do not arise in any other place. They do not arise in outside of the mind. They arise only in the mind. And right now you are not giving chance to arise, not only not giving chance to arise, but you are dispelling by development of the concentration. So again, the longer you dispel or suppress the defilements, the more inactive they become. They become more inactive, unfunctional. So, for example, think about a car. Think about a car or a piece of machinery. When it running regularly and properly maintained, then it stays active, then functional. Even the moving parts stay lubricated. The battery also stays charged and it starts easily. It starts easily, but when it left unused for the long time, it becomes dull. It becomes dull, rusty, and inert. The battery downs while thickens and the parts may seize up. It might not be start without effort or the repair. So similarly, when defilements are fed regularly through unmindful activities and reactions, then they remain active, strong, dominant in the mind. But by not giving rooms, by dispelling development of the mindfulness and concentration, you make the defilements inactive, inert, unfunctional. And as I just mentioned, when they become inactive, inert, unfunctional, at times, although you miss the object to observe, they will not arise suddenly. They will not arise suddenly. Experienced meditators have this experience. At the beginning of the practice, as soon as we miss to develop the mindfulness, as soon as we forget to observe the meditative object, suddenly kilesa or defilement bursts up. Suddenly kilesa arise. all the meditators here who are practicing, they have this experience. Suddenly the defilements burst up or arise. But when you develop a good mindfulness, a good concentration, and you build the momentum continuously and become able to put the defilements at a bay, though you miss the object, though you become like a suddenly unmindful, still defilements do not arise because they are not nearby. They are at a bay. They are at remote distance. So this is how the momentum plays the crucial role while we are practicing meditation. And again, the same thing, that is why we need unbroken continuity. You need unbroken continuity. And not only that, like as you give momentum continuously, like the mind has learned to stay within a wholesome framework. As you keep your mind, the like as you dispel the defilements again and again, keep generating the wholesome mind. Wholesome mind are arising each and every moment, generating each and every moment. You are giving birth the wholesome mind each and every moment. Now the mind has learned to stay within a wholesome framework. That's why even without deliberate effort, you don't need deliberate effort to not to arise the defilements. When you miss to object, or when you suddenly, when you lack the mindfulness, still defilements do not arise. So this is how we develop the good mindfulness, a good wholesome mentalities. Yogis often ask like how to maintain the mindfulness at home, how we can remain calm like here, can keep mind cool and calm. This is what you need to do. You have to teach your mind. You have to teach your mind to stay within a wholesome frame. And that is what we are trying to do. Mind is slowly learning to stay within wholesome frame. And slowly it enjoys. At the beginning, mind does not enjoy staying in wholesome frame. You think our mind thinks is something boring. Is something boring. Mind seeks the satisfying, fascinating thing. But later it does not. Because now it knows the flavor of the Dhamma. It knows the taste of the Dhamma. It knows the staying within the frame of wholesome frame. And that will help you to stay in wholesome frame at home as well. And although you leave the center, because your mind is like you have put the defilements at a bay. That's why although you return home, still not easily arise the defilements in your mind. That kind of momentum should be built or developed. And it would be possible when you give the momentum to arise the concentration. When you give the momentum for the concentration. So, and the momentum builds up when you observe the meditative object continuously. If sitting meditation, rising, falling, then next rising, next falling, then next rising, next falling. If mind wanders, okay, then while observing the mind, in observation of the mind as well, you develop concentration. Because as good concentration develops, it sinks into each and every object, not only rising and falling. You absorb mind, mind sinks into that. It penetrates into that object. If you absorb sensation, then it sinks into that sensation. If you absorb right step, it sinks into that object. If lifting, then lifting. If dropping, then dropping. If lifting, moving, dropping, then in lifting, moving, dropping. If stretching hand, then stretching. If bending, then bending. Whatever object you observe, if you train your mind in such a way, then mind sinks into, penetrates into all the objects. All the objects, and that means you consistently you develop the concentration, and consistently you dispel defilements, obsessive defilements, and constantly you put the defilements at bay. As I just mentioned, if you put for a few seconds, then it is not enough. Defilements will not remain at the bay. The longer you develop concentration continuously, the farther the defilements remain. And again, that concentration, that momentum of concentration will produce or generate or permit the wisdom to arise. The proximate cause, the nearest cause to develop wisdom is concentration. Concentration is the proximate cause to arise the wisdom or insight knowledge. So if you want to develop insight knowledge, and by development of the insight knowledge, if you want to dispel, suppress the latent defilements, underlying defilements, embedded defilements, you need to develop the insight knowledge. Then to develop insight knowledge, you have to give momentum to concentration. And it is mentioned on the text, concentrated meditator or concentrated meditator sees or explores the realities as they really exist. Means a meditator who has good concentration, he explores the things that really exist, and they are none other than mind and matter, nature of mind and matter, individual nature, characteristics of mind and matter, then conditional, then common characteristics of mind and matter, or impermanence, suffering, and non-selflessness of the mind and matter. This is how knowledge develops. Tomorrow we will again talk about the 7 enlightenment factors, because the next cause, the causative factor to develop and sharpen the controlling faculties, is to keep in balance the enlightenment factors. And in enlightenment factors, samadhi will be mentioned, wisdom will be mentioned, sati, mindfulness will be mentioned, and also energy will be mentioned. So tomorrow we will still talk about these factors. So today you have to understand how important concentration itself is, how important it is to develop unbroken continuity, and to practice respectfully is. So by knowing the benefits, may you all be able to practice respectfully with unbroken continuity, and may you be able to develop mindfulness, concentration. May you be able to give momentum. May you be able to develop momentum of mindfulness, concentration, by development of mindfulness, concentration. May you be able to dispel the obsessive kilesas. May you be able to put them at a bay.